have any color on the TV.
Well, we didn't have no TV. That was the trouble. We'd have but old piece of radio. It wouldn't have played. You couldn't hear nothing on it. All it just static, static, static. That's about all it was. And you didn't have no lights either. You had to light your lamp, and you had to wash the chimney. And then after you got through washing the chimney, you had to get your books and sit around there and try to study your lessons in the dark, mostly. And it was cold. You didn't have another old piece of house, and the wind was blowing through the cracks, and the chicken was fighting under the house. And you had to go down in the woods and take your old crosscut saw and saw your tree down and cut it up in blocks and get your axe and split them up. And after you split them up, you had to go catch the old mule. Hitch your old mule to the wagon, go down through the woods in the old wagon, and pick up your blocks and throw them in the wagon and haul it back to the house. And get ready to cook, because you had an old wood stove, and that old wood stove would smoke and stink. And then when you got dirty, you had to go wash your hands. You didn't have no warm water. You didn't have no water. You had to draw your water out of the well, and then you poured in your old dish pan, and the water was cold as ice, and your soap wasn't no good hardly either. And then when you got ready to take a bath, oh boy, got ready to take a bath, go behind the old stove, get your old tin tub, get you some water, sit back down the old tin tub, don't look at me. And then somebody trying to peep at you, and all at once your back and hit the edge of the tub, and it'd burn you. And you would, whoop, look out. And then it hurt the other place, and then it was so cold, and it'd freeze you to death. Then you had to hurry up and get to do taking the bath to get back to the fire. Because if you didn't get back to the fire pretty quick, somebody done got your place at the fire. You didn't have no chair. I didn't stand in front of you in the fire. In front of you, and it was you get cold, your face would burn, and your legs would turn red, and your back would freeze. That ain't been so long ago, about 50, 60 years ago. And then you have to get up early in the morning and go down to the cotton field to pick cotton, long and last of August, 1st September. And you pick cotton all day, and your back hurt so bad you couldn't hardly walk. And when you got home, you was glad to get home because you was hungry and you was tired and might be mad. That was back when the boll weevil get to eating the cotton. When the boll weevil didn't have no cotton, much, might a little bit of cotton. And then the cloud come along, and the wind started to blowing, and the hail started to hailing, and it'd tear your crop all to pieces, and you didn't have nothing because the hail beat it all to pieces. That happened in 21st day of August in 1921. We had a hailstorm, and the hail was a foot deep on the ground, big as hen eggs. Tore everything all to pieces. All right, ask me some more questions.
Well, back when you were about my age, at 9, what kind of games did you play?
Well, we didn't have no games much to play. We had a bunch of chickens. And we go out and we catch the chickens and tote them around and make them fight. And we watch the chickens fight, and we call when two chickens would go to fight, we'd call it a scrubble up. And we had all our chickens named. Old hen's named Old Camp Hen, Old Three Toe, Old Feather Leg. That was 3 of the chickens we had. And they was out running out of those out in the woods, and the hawks sometimes would catch your little chickens. Or I had some chickens out in the woods in a coop, and one night the polecats got in there and eat about half of my little chickens up. So I set a steel trap down there and caught the polecat, and I walked down there, and the polecat really sprinkled me good. And then you had to pull your clothes off and take a bath and wash your clothes because it stunk so bad you couldn't be around nobody. Polecat has got muss, and he skeet that muss 10 or 15 feet and skeet it all over you. And then we didn't have nothing to talk about playing. We'd go down the back of the house on the sawdust pile and take some rotten eggs. And one of us would get up on the sawdust pile and pitch the rotten eggs to you, and you'd hit them with a piece of slab. and the old rotten egg would fly all over you. And two, we had an old flip. You see, we'd take that old flip out there and walk around down in the woods and see if we find a rabbit in the bed. And if we killed a rabbit in the bed, then we'd have rabbit gravy. Hot biscuits and rabbit gravy. It was good along then because you didn't have just anything you wanted to eat. You had to make out with a lot of stuff. And you take along then, there's such big families. When your mother started shelling peas, she didn't have time to pick them out. And if you ended the worms in them, they let the worms stay in there, and it kind of used the worms for meat. That's exaggerating a little bit, but it was pretty rough along then. And that's about enough, I guess.
Well, Grandpa, back then when you had school books, what did you learn back then?
What did we learn?
Yeah.
We learned, well, the same things it is now, writing and arithmetic and geography and history and stuff like that. You had to study things like that.
How about science?
Science.
Science.
I don't know anything about that science too much. We didn't have too much science back then. That was, your main things back then were reading and writing and arithmetic and spelling. Of course, you had history and geography to learn the states and the capital of the states and the oceans and the foreign countries. You had to learn all that stuff. That's about the biggest thing. And back then, when you had a snow, you'd go out in the yard and find a good clean place and rake you up a pile of snow and go get you a bowl and bring it in the house and get you some eggs and some sugar and a big spoon, and you make you some ice cream, snow cream. It's pretty good though. It's about as good as the ice cream you had. I've done it quite a few times. Make a red big bowl of snow and put you some eggs and sugar and milk in it and beat it up and you get it all mixed up real good. Then sit down and get you a piece of plain cake and have some ice cream or snow cream. We call it snow cream. Same thing as ice cream. And then you had to go down to the barn and shuck you some shucks and feed the old mules, because you had 2 or 3 old mules in the barn. And you had to shuck some corn and put some corn in there for the mules to eat supper, because next morning we had to get up and go to work when the sun come up. And it was all day long. You was off about two and a half hours at dinner time, and you went back to work and you stayed till the sun went down. And life was pretty bad in a way. In a way it was pretty good. You didn't have time to get in trouble a whole lot like they do now. Now that people just walk around the streets and ain't got nothing to do, don't want to do nothing. But we had to do it.